This is my Commonplace book. I'd like to call it my archive, so I labeled it archive. You know, usually it's archive, but I wanted to really experiment on this idea of the wordplay between art and archive. And I also have had a blog called From the Archive, so I really liked that tagline, and so I decided to name this archive. I don't know if I'm going to continue doing this, but this was something that I started, I think sometime in September 2020. So as you can see here, it says From the Archive, and I don't know if it's from the archive or from the archive, but this houses a lot of my travel memories and stories that are more centered around art and travel in general. So I wrote on here, a collection of stories and musings from museums, cities, and explorations around the world. So archive, I wrote also some words that felt like apt to describe what this, you know, journal Commonplace book is about. Archive, artist, art movement, archival, archive. So this one was given to me by Papa Melroti. It's a ring bound. Actually, I don't know if this was the best choice for me because ring-bound notebooks or ring-bound scrapbooks like this, I don't think can hold too much paper, which was my constant problem. Like I had to tape out some stuff and then some of the loops would open, like it just opened just now. So I wish I used something else, but I wanted to prioritize this because the idea of the rings also helped me like rearrange the pages, and that helps me also figure out which sequence this was gonna go, because I did not really plan out how this scrapbook journal would turn out. I just went along with things and also organized a couple of my ephemera and memorabilia to sort of fit this this theme that is ongoing. So I'll show you a quick look at inside. So I divided the areas into Asia, America, and Europe, but there isn't like a proper flow. I really like the idea of playing around with collage and having a place to house them. That's why this journal came about. I clearly remember I was watching The Theory of Everything during the first time. I was like, going around doing all these collecting of ephemera, sorting stuff from past trips and putting them here on these pages. So I'm just gonna read something here. It says, "It is such a luxury to be able to see the world and be able to widen our worldview through new discoveries. It's the main reason why travel is so important to me. Nothing keeps me more on my feet than having the ability to know and discover more about art and life. From the Archive contains a compendium of travelogues, notes, observations, and personal experiences from my travels and visits to different museums around the world. Upon the creation and development of this self-initiated project, it goes without saying that my love for art and travel are indeed interconnected and coexist in my life." So I took inspiration from all of the different exhibitions we went to. So this was in Asia. This was during Yayoi Kusama's exhibit in, I forgot the museum, National Art Center in Tokyo. And then subsequently, a few months after, I went with my friend Coco. We went to both Yayoi Kusama exhibitions. This was in Singapore. So this one had the infinity mirror room. The other one did not, but both were really great experiences. I kept all the maps and then I punched holes in it so that they could fit it right in here. And then I also went to Singapore for Singapore Art Week in 2020. So here are some of the little remnants of things that I was able to collect. This one is something very important to me because I am a huge fan of Olafur Eliasson, and I have just watched him on Netflix from Abstract Season 2 Episode 1, and I saw this installation that he did in Capita Green, Singapore. So it's super cool to see it in real life. And then I also went to Singapore for, when was this? This was in 2018, an Impressionism exhibition. I personally love Impressionism as an art movement, so I wrote a lot about my thoughts in the different paintings that I saw. This is obviously from a Monet painting. And then following up with that, in New York, I lived in New York for a few months, and actually the big reason why I wanted to stay in New York is to really explore a lot of the galleries and museums, and I liked how I added little touches of New York. So you'll see here there's a photo of New York, and then I put in the Empire State Building sticker on here so it fits in some way. And then this one is the map from the Guggenheim Museum where I went with my mom and brother during the 𝚘𝚘𝚏𝚏𝚏 exhibition. Super great. It's one of my favorite exhibitions that I've ever went to. And I realized that upon I was documenting everything on here, I didn't have a place where I would write or talk or like document about the art museums that I went to. So this was just perfect timing to do that. And then another museum in New York is the Whitney. I really like the Whitney because I went here twice and I saw a lot of American artists' works here, from Edward Hopper to Andy Warhol had an exhibit also, and all these amazing trailblazers in the art field. So I wrote a little like informative. I wrote a little write-up about them based on what I know, and I've also like discovered them along the way. Very simple facts that I found out. For example, Norman Rockwell, I found out that the movie The Truman Show was inspired, like the set design was inspired by Norman Rockwell paintings. And these are some of the artists that I really like in terms of in the American context. So we have Edward Hopper, Andy Warhol, Jackson Pollock, who is a major figure in the abstract expressionist movement, and of course Norman Rockwell. So next up, this I think was really something I did not expect, but I went to Washington DC and we had taken a tour, and then they led us to the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. And I was like, wow, I didn't know this museum actually existed. And we only stayed for like 10 minutes. So that was in 2017. So the year after, I promised myself to go to DC. By the way, this is free entrance. To go to DC and go on this tour. So I went to this museum once again, and then I was able to go on a free tour with a really awesome tour guide. I think he was previously a pilot, so he knew so much about these aircrafts and all the different stories about space and flying, and so I really had a great time. And apart from that, this one was actually an envelope that I got from the National Postal Museum. It felt like it was apt to put it on here because the Postal Museum is also in Washington DC, but this one is, if I'm not mistaken, this is Amelia Earhart. Is it? I remember getting this because of that. And this is not the real thing, but they made it really, it's like embossed, so it's really precious to me, and of course I'm not gonna use it, so I kept it in the plastic and it's just gonna be forever here. So a very airmail travel themed situation when I went to DC. Here is a peek at the Andy Warhol exhibition that I was able to visit. So this one was in Whitney also. And then this one is actually my MoMA membership card, which is already expired, so I felt like I needed to keep it there. This Blick Art Materials card is actually my discount card because I used to go there a lot for buying materials because I was actually going to school when I was there. So it's still here for memorabilia purposes. Moving on, we have the Europe category. So this one was a mix of going to art museums and also my experience, because I also lived briefly in Berlin. So the first museum that I went to when I went to Berlin in October 2018 was the Alte National Gallery. So they have a museum Insel. It's called Museum Island. In German, it's Museum Insel. And there are a lot of different galleries all together in one block, but I think the other one that I wanted to go to initially was closed for renovation. I think that was the Pergamon Museum. So I ended up going to the Alte National Gallery one because this one had Renoir and Monet paintings. So this is by Renoir. And I wanted to, of course, see that for myself. This is actually huge in real life. And I decided to incorporate these postcards that had the similar color scheme going on. So this one is Albers, Strasse. Of course, I'm butchering the pronunciation, but this station is something that I frequently went to when I lived in Berlin, so it was very memorable to me to have this postcard. And then here, I developed this picture when I was in the drugstore, I believe. My best friend went to Berlin for she was a flight attendant back then, and we hung out, and this was a photo that she took. The notes here that you'll find are actually notes from the first ever tour I took in Berlin. So usually when I attend like walking tours, I have my phone on hand and I try to listen to what the tour guide is saying. So then I list them down, and then I don't know where to put them, so I ended up just writing them here for, you know, better story context. So these are more ephemera from my stay in Berlin. This was a Bauhaus postcard that Ellen gave me. So I think she got this when she was traveling as well in Germany. And then this one was my little desk setup in Prenzlauer Berg when I lived there. My plane ticket is also here. When I went to Munich for a couple of days, I was also fortunate enough to visit a museum there. It's called the Alte Pinakothek. This one is more of like the old masters kind of art. You know, all these religious figures, portraits of royalty. I wanted to go to the modern one, but it was also closed for renovation. So someday, hopefully I'll be able to go there. As far as I know, one of Van Gogh's sunflower paintings are there, and I would love to see it in person. But this guy is actually Albrecht Durer, and he is a popular, prolific artist in Nuremberg. So I knew of him because I used to work for Faber-Castell, and I went to the museum in Faber-Castell and Kassel in Nuremberg. And one of the watercolor pencil brands is actually called Albrecht Durer watercolor pencils. So I went to, long story short, I went to Albrecht Durer's museum in Nuremberg as well. So I know what he looks like, and I know that's him. So fun facts that I instantly recognized that it was him. I wanted to also play around, if you noticed, with the different colorways that existed with the ephemera I kept. So I think I bought, no, this was charcoal paint, but I don't know if it like stuck in, but I wanted these like bold strokes to sort of frame everything together. This one is an embarrassment, but let me give you an excuse. I used the maps here to decorate a page that I needed to do for my travel journaling book. So more on that later. But this was the Bauhaus exhibition. Yeah, in Berlin. This was in Berlinische Gallery. I clearly remember it was a very interesting exhibition. I was also able to go to a little exhibition at the Museum Barberini with Van Gogh's work. I think he had mostly, I think I saw the room painting if I'm not mistaken, but he had mostly still life paintings from there, and it was a very interesting afternoon. This was Hyun. This is not Van Gogh, by the way. This was Hyun, and she went with me to Potsdam. It's like an hour from Berlin, and we were able to explore the place. Yeah, these are more of the maps from the exhibition, and a little like write-up about my love for Van Gogh. So I also played around with poster paint and like painted these like sunflower-esque strokes to sort of like round up everything. And you know, Van Gogh paints a lot of nature, so I placed this Le Paradis, I'm not gonna even pronounce that, gonna butcher it, but I just saw this. This is an old travel sticker that I had. So I think in some way this was really my way of exploring all the different stationery I had in my own stash. I didn't buy anything new to work on these. It was really more of a creative exercise I wanted to try. Now, this one is probably one of my favorites also. I think all of the ones that I kept here are my favorites for obvious reasons, that they're documented well in these pages. So this one is called Kunsthalle. It's like an art, yeah, Kunst is art in German. So this is an art museum in Hamburg. So I took a weekend to go to Hamburg, and I've heard so many good things about this museum in particular. So I made sure to go, even if I had to have my trip cut short because my train got delayed. It was a whole thing. It was basically delayed for 8 hours, and so I only had a day left to explore. But still, I decided to go for it because I didn't want to miss this for the world. So this one is Kunsthal. The way that the museum was structured was just so organized. Like, if you have not gone to a museum ever and you go here, you totally understand the context of the stories that lie within. That's why I have so much things that I've written on here, and it's still ongoing, and it's like a shortcut of art history basically. So if you want a crash course in art history, that museum does the work for you. This one I haven't filled up, but these are some prompts that I want to do for travel related stuff. I'll probably make them into like a graphic for travel journaling prompts as well. And then moving on, these are more not art. I just wanted to paste in these little things that I got also from previous trips. So this one was also from the Berlinische Gallery in Bauhaus, the Bauhaus exhibition. And then I was also able to go to Budapest. Okay, the photo here is also what I use for my book. Budapest in Hungary was great. No museums, but it was really pretty. This was one of the famous landmarks on there. And yeah, it's the Opera House in Budapest. I clearly remember this because I was shopping for you know, souvenirs at the souvenir shop, and I was like, I need to get a really nice postcard. And then I saw this, and the shade of red is just perfect, so I was like, okay, I'm getting this. So it is now here with me. So these ones I haven't really fleshed out yet, but this one is a Russia page where, you know, the problem is, like, for me, I was so mentally challenged doing this also because it required a lot of work, right? And I didn't want it to be a chore. So what happened was, towards the end, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put all of these and we'll see if I ever update them. And if I don't, I have that tendency, then it doesn't get updated, right? But this one, I did write some notes from my notes as well about Russia. So this is the St. Basil's Cathedral. We went to Russia winter 2018. Not the best idea. It was -8. I don't even want to remember my time there. It was so cold. And it was very cold, but it was very interesting. Here we have bits and pieces from Barcelona. So I went to Barcelona in 2019 with Coco as well, and we spent 2 weeks really like engrossed in the place. It was great. I went, you know, fangirling over Gaudi. Gaudi's works are awesome. And we also were able to go to Picasso's museum in Barcelona. So here's a peek at that. I shouldn't have bound this like this. It's not ergonomic. But anyway, this one was a chocolate packaging that was included that had like Gaudi's patterns on them. So I kept them also. This was Gaudi's initial sketch of La Sagrada Familia. It's great. I feel like, you know, it's rare to see postcards that have sketches of these architects and artists, and I'm like, you know, I'm here for it. So I kept that as well. You know, I have this really weird theory that my Spain journal just got lost or someone stole it because I cannot find it. So I don't really have some sort of documented account of Spain at this point because all of my photos were there. And yeah, kind of sad about it, but I don't know. That's the only journal I cannot find at this point, and it's considering I've already like sorted through all of my journals and like cataloged them. I don't know what happened basically. So these ones are more of like remnants of collage kits that I pasted out. Is this considered art? I don't know. This one is a postcard with a painting by Mark Rothko. I'm not sure which painting this. Oh, it says here number 3. Number 13. So I felt like the colors matched somehow. And then these ones are just little collages that I ended up doing as I went along. So you'll see that the bulk of the pages consist of either written stuff or collage or photos, and I just wanted it to be a free-form way for me to really experiment on what this archive was gonna be, because it was my first time doing this, as I mentioned. So, you know, I had like different elements of green. This was an old print that I did in 2012, I believe. This is the cityscape of Australia. I just don't remember if it's Sydney or Melbourne. And then I did this lettering and like photoshopped it on there. Still is something that I really love up to this day. And then I read The Lonely City in 2020 and it felt really apt with this whole idea of art and loneliness, so had to put it there as well. And this one is a, little patronage to Van Gogh's Sunflowers because I have a lot of his prints and so they're here. So yeah, that is the end of this Commonplace book. Flip through this one, I just took a photo, so meta, of me putting together all of the elements here. So this was in September of 2020. My official travel hashtag is ABC en route, always in transit, and this little project is something I'm very proud of, She thick. And hopefully I get to do something again similar soon, but maybe on a different notebook or a different layout because, again, I didn't realize that this ring-bound situation was gonna be a problem for me. One last thing is, because it was ring-bound, I thought I would have more freedom to switch the pages around, but then I thought about it and actually it was a bit harder for me to do that because I'm not used to switching pages around, and so this was a really challenging creative project that I embarked. But I'm happy I sort of finished it, and I do hope you enjoyed this little flip through. Hopefully you can also start something that picks your interests. I personally love art museums and traveling, and so this was my way of documenting those two things. So in conjunction with this, I would like to share that my travel journaling book, The Art of the Travel Journal, is now available for pre-order. If you want to check that out, I do include a lot of pages also from here, as well as techniques on how you can document. So make sure to check it out via the link in the description, and I look forward to seeing your travel journals and future documenting adventures. Bye!